Well, hi everybody, and welcome to Reed's Collections. I'm here, of course, to talk about the most recent news just came out of San Diego Comic-Con 2026. If you were following my previous review of the Ghost Brothers collection, both the Funko Pop and the NECA, you know that NECA is currently running down their contract with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles license. As of 2027, that licensing will, of course, will now move on to Mattel for their products. So what does that mean? Well, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles property has actually been a huge piece for the last 40 years, mostly through Playmates that handle with all the toys, as you know. You even can see a lot of the recreations they've done as well within those times. 2027, Mattel will become the new global masters for the licensing of the TMNT licensing product. So basically everything we've been seeing for the last couple of years is coming to an end. I have a couple of examples right here with some of those product lines, including the Wanderer from the normal Eastman series during those little eras too. I actually jumped into it. It's supposed to technically be Leonardo as the Wanderer from a lot of those issues here. I really kind of like this because I remember this story when I was young, when I first was reading Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles back when the cartoon was on. And of course, I got one of the most well-known, remember, ones right here with Krang Shredder, which was when Archie actually ran the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles during the 90s series over a couple of storylines. So these are examples of what NECA released and everything else too, which was the biggest ones where a lot of their rare series characters as well as their cartoon licensing and everything else. So it's been quite a bit too with that. My collector focus has usually been mostly with NECA, especially when I got into the full Last Ronin collection back in 2020 when the comic series came out, as you know, for all that. And I've really been enjoying getting the whole collection. I pretty much have gotten the final piece of the NECA collection with the Ghost Brothers, which I just recently reviewed on. There was talk, even though it wasn't shown at San Diego Comic-Con, that one of NECA's last pieces, which is right now for pre-order, and I'll have some notes right down, is from the cartoon, which is from Tempestra, the super villain from the cartoon, best known as from Tempestra's Revenge, which was a Leonardo focus, and of course Night of the Rogues, and I think she was in one other piece here before we saw her years later in Shredder's Revenge, a video game here that came out a couple years ago. But that's been screamed for that, and Tempestra is actually one of those characters too. I am basically seen as the end of my NECA collection with those lines as an example, because of course I love her character. I thought she was really cool. I really wish they would have voiced her into the comics in some strange fashion. There was kind of a small nod to her during the arcade scene in Last Ronin, but I've always enjoyed that. So it's very interesting of what that's going to. And that's one thing else I kind of want to go with that piece right here. Something that will be a big change for that, of course, is with that right too. I mean, the Last Ronin, the series has kind of come to an end here, including the most recent here. And of course, they have the later 4 Ninja Turtles here, which are the successors in Last Ronin 2, and there'll be, of course, next year's Last Ronin 3, which is, you know, Take Back New York and everything else too. But like I said, characters here like Belly Bomb, who is a really cool original character. NECA also came out with the variant of this. It's hard to find. I've actually been looking for it, where it has the blue inverse color of somebody like here, like Belly Bomb. And something that's always been a really huge thing on that is the fact that this has just been such a popular line for so many years. NECA really found a way to find a really great balance between the cartoon, the Archie comics, the current series, and everything else. And they were able to do both exclusives, but also keep the lines pretty much. So, you know, it's been one of the little pieces of here. NECA has really been, I feel, and Playmates have been really one of the fair ones to the Ninja Turtles. But as we all know, things change. Ownership of the rights, even though they're still in with Eastland and Lard, you got to remember Paramount and Nickelodeon have most of the rights right now to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles line. So the fact that they have now switched those two, and the fact that Mattel is doing that deal because of the rights, because of Paramount, that is all switched. But one thing is, a lot of fans have been saying, two, is they don't feel like just going out and completely getting a bunch of brand new collectors over the same action figures. And I kind of have to agree. As much as I love the Last Ronin, unless there's something really substantial, do I want to be going buying all the Ninja Turtles? No. There's already talk that there's already going to be a release for Casey Marie and her Last Ronin Ninja guides that'll be on the cover for issue 1 of Last Ronin 3. But that might be the end of it. It depends on how the figure is crafted and how things are done. I mean, as someone who's bought Mattel, let's face it, Masters of the Universe, what were we buying? We were buying Mattel. When my friends and my sisters were buying Barbie, guess what? Mattel. You know, it's not like the company hasn't been around, and some have been really good. There's been a lot of releases now. A lot of wrestling fans really enjoy the use of the recreations of wrestlings as well as the different Playmates figurines, because a lot of those licensings have changed over the years. So I think from a strong fan point, this is basically, it's going to be the classic, do you just still want to get it? A lot of people like me, we're not going to have the recreation of the whole licensing a little bit here. And of course, Tempestra would really be the end of my NECA line for that. Does that mean I'm going to stop buying NECA? No, there's still some collections I like to, but am I open to see what Mattel is going to do come 2027, especially in things like this? Yeah, I mean, but it's just like any other buyer or consumer. Do I like the product? Does it reflect it? Versus do I have to have every single one? I'm a completist, but I don't need every single figure. You've seen me on my ones doing the various G.I. Joe classifieds pieces here, but there's certain characters I want, like all the Mad Marauders collection, the Python Patrol. However, I'm not getting Vipra. I want the Trouble Bubble Televiper, but do I want the Super 7 Cobra Troop Python in the Trouble Bubble? No, I don't really need that, versus the other pieces like the Bat or the Trooper or Copperhead or Cobra Commander in the armor version. There's different pieces that I like as a collector. So the news coming out of it is, yes, I see it as an end of an era. NECA, I think, kind of knocked it out of the park the last several years, especially for the cartoon fans in history of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So it's been really amazing in that sense of the word. So I think I am going to enjoy that part. But in the meantime, I think I'm really seeing the end of my collection right here with that little set with the Ninja Turtles, and depending on what it's coming. Like I said, Tempestra is definitely going to add in my collection, but me, like many others, have been waiting for a long time. A lot of stuff like Last Ronin here, unless they're going to come out with Araku Sadu, which of course is the main villain for the Last Ronin, if they get it out in time. But right now, there was no previews at San Diego. There's been no talk of it. Most likely, if we finally do see the grandson of Shredder, it's probably going to come through Mattel. Will I want it because of the character? Sure. But at the same time, if they basically give me a brand new Last Ronin line, unless it's really caught my eye, I don't know if I want to get it. Last Ronin 3, though, is a full set and stuff that I can see getting to it. So I think it's very interesting news here. And I guess we'll just see what happens as we get into 2027 and the NECA line for the Ninja Turtles license comes to an end in the next 5 months as of the recording of this video. So everybody else, I'd like to thank you for subscribing to the channel. I am shooting to try to get to 800 subscribers by the end of August, aka September 1st. I'd like it to happen. So think about sharing or liking and commenting on the video. It really helps with the algorithms. I'm always looking for more increase. Also, thank you for people who have supported the channel, for updated equipment like so forth, and getting some of my newer licenses, as well as helping me with the editing features. So thank you so much for that. And I have to say, it's been wonderful here too. I'll be back, of course, later on with a review here. I got a really cool one over in the other part of the studio here. I'll be reviewing a very favorite of mine. So on that note, everybody, thank you for joining us for the news on the change from NECA to Mattel for the Ninja Turtles license. And I will talk to everybody later.